Hey guys, this is Michael with Elite Truck. In today's video, we're going to be talking all about underbody boxes, where they're best used, how to measure for them, different material choices that are out there, and some different features that our brands are offering as well. Underbody boxes are the perfect storage solution for a flatbed trailer or truck. There are plenty of great options that are out there as far as top of deck, but when you need to keep the deck completely clear for putting tools, supplies, or load on top of, that's where an underbody box really comes in hand. You're able to keep all of your square footage on top of the deck clear for a load. Not to mention, a lot of these trucks that have flatbeds are single cab, so you don't have a ton of space inside as is. And if you've got straps that have been out in the rain all day and they're soaking wet, you don't necessarily want to take them and put them back in your truck cab. So that's where an underbody box is great as well. Keeps it out of the way while you're working, but it's easily accessible for you. So now that we've talked about underbody boxes and where they might be best used, the next step is going to be actually taking some measurements and figuring out which ones will fit in the space that you've got to work with. The first measurement you're going to need to do is width. This is the space we've got to work with on this truck, so I recommend just taking a tape measure like I've got, taking a quick measurement right here, and it looks like we're right around 48 inches wide, which is perfect because underbody boxes are actually offered in a couple different standard categories for sizes. 18 inches, 30 inches, 48 inches are all a couple examples of them, and there's sizes between those obviously, and ones that are even larger. Depending on what you measure, you may need to round up or round down to one of those standardized categories. So keep that in mind when you're taking your measurements. The next measurement that you're gonna have to consider is depth. And when you're doing this, it's very important that you consider what you have going on with the frame. You can't necessarily measure to the deepest spot on the frame because if you have a suspension bracket like this here, it's going to interfere with the fitment of the box. So my recommendation is to take the measurement from the shallowest point, something that sticks out the furthest. So we're going to work from here out to the edge of the flatbed, which is about right here. So we're looking probably 18, 19 inches is what we've got to work with in this situation. The last measurement you're going to need to take is the height measurement. When you're doing that, an important consideration is to not make it too low on the truck. You don't want something that's going to potentially scrape against the ground. Let's say you have to go off-road with your work truck. It could become a clearance issue, so keep that in mind when you're measuring for height. If the standard size categories aren't necessarily working for you and you're not totally happy with some of the size options that are out there, I recommend giving our team a call because we do have some custom solutions through a company called RC Industries. So give our team a call and we can walk you through the ordering process if the standardized sizes don't work for you. All right, so now that we've talked about measuring and fitting a underbody box on the truck, I wanted to talk about a couple different material choices that we've got. Starting on this end, this is gonna be a steel underbody box right here. It's a very heavy duty option. The downside to it is that it is the heaviest, and potentially depending on your use case that could matter, it might not matter to you. Another thing to keep in mind, if you're in a really heavily salted area, this box down the road could get susceptible to rust and corrosion if the powder coat starts to chip or is scratched anywhere. So that's something to keep in mind. Next option I want to talk about is aluminum. We've got a couple different finish options with aluminum. We've got a diamond tread option. This one has been painted black as well. And then we've got more of like a polished option right here. Gotta say it looks really sharp. Aluminum obviously is a lot more lightweight than steel, so that could play into your decision making. It tends to be a little bit expensive as a material, but the upside to it is you have a lot less worry about rust and corrosion with a material like this. Moving on, we've got our polymer box right here. This one is going to be the most lightweight option. It's also what I would consider to be the lightest duty option. The plus side to it is you might not necessarily have to worry about dents and scratches, things like that. And obviously the plastic itself is not going to rust or corrode in any way. So definitely something to check out. All right, so as you're shopping for underbody boxes, something that you may pick up on are different features that are offered by different brands and different models. Something I wanted to point out are different support types for doors. This one, as you can see, has the hydraulic supports, which is kind of a nice feature. You don't see that on a ton of boxes, and I think it's more of a premium thing. So I like the look of them. I think it gives it a very professional look. Moving on, we've got some other support options right here. This is going to be a chain support right here. My personal favorite, if you're looking for a heavy duty option, I think this would probably be best suited for that. Then we've got these more welded on style bars. That's a great option as well. And then lastly, we've got these cable supports. Cable supports are definitely going to be the most common that you see across product lines. But like I said, if you're looking for the most heavy duty option available, my recommendation is for these chains right here. As far as organization goes, This box is offered with drawers. Some of them also have dividers that you can add in. So keep that in mind if you're shopping, whether it's capable of having drawers or a divider in it, if organization is important to you. Last thing I want to touch on is security. Most all of these boxes are going to have some sort of a keyed lock to them, which is great. But boxes like this actually include a padlockable handle. So you have an additional layer of security there. It makes it a little bit harder for somebody to get in and steal your valuable items or tools. So definitely something to consider as you're shopping through Underbody Boxes. So now that we've been talking about different materials and features that are offered with Underbody Boxes, I wanted to touch on installation. A lot of folks opt to go with brackets such as these to mount the Underbody Boxes to the truck. You use these pre-existing holes right here to mount it onto the truck side, and then it's got holes right here on this bottom portion of the bar that the box is going to sit on top of and be mounted to directly. These brackets are great and they're relatively affordable. The one thing to keep in mind if you're going to use brackets like this is to make sure that the spacing is correct. I would definitely caution you before drilling any holes. Make sure the hole setup that you're going for is going to work. The placement of everything is going to fit correctly, and especially consider the door opening. I've seen a couple folks have issues with the door opening and catching on the front of this flatbed lip, so definitely something to keep in mind. If you're not opting to use these brackets and you want more of a custom solution or DIY, a lot of folks opt to weld their own supports in here, so you can get creative and do something like that too if you have the skills. Thanks for hanging out today as we walked through a couple different features and material choices for Underbody Boxes. If you have additional questions about Underbody Boxes that were not covered in the video today, I definitely recommend reaching out and giving our team a call. They can walk you through the whole process and get you squared away with the right product for your application. Thanks for hanging out today. I'm Michael with Elite Truck.